All right, man. Let's do this. Mike. Interesting. So it's a good night tonight, and I'm gonna start this off tonight real simple and easy. I'm gonna put this up here so we can have this conversation. And I guess I'll start talking, and when brothers start adding on, that's when I can have a better understanding of who's here, what is it looking like. Because at the end of the day, the conversation is what it is. So I'm just trying to get things in order so that we could begin to have it, right? So, for instance, this tonight we're talking about relating on a ship with your significant other. How good is your communication skills? And a lot of people, I don't know, everybody's different when it comes to these particular things, but I definitely would like to just expound on some of the relevant things that really matter when we have these conversations, like how are we addressing it? How are we communicating? You know, because some of us we weren't taught properly when it comes to communication. You know, for me, I know when I grew up, man, like I had one grandmother, she cursed like a sailor. And I tell you, every third word was something that was just like derogatory. But I guess, that was her comfort zone. And on top of that, it made things quite memorable, when it comes to these particular situations. Um, right now, it's just really just waiting for the brothers to add on and join on to the chat tonight. Cause it's all good when iron sharpens iron, but it's always good to be able to build with each other so we can have an understanding on why we here, why we do the things we do. You know what I mean? And a lot of situations that do occur in our lives, it happens because we have past traumas or situations that we experienced when we were younger that are unresolved. So some of us got unresolved issues, and I know I may be definitely one of those individuals, right? Because my life, it wasn't a perfect life. So when I grew up, I knew for a fact that when I learned from like my mom and my dad and their relationship, at first it was love, and then it went from love to toxic. And when it got to the toxic aspect, guess what, man? Couldn't figure it out. But briefly, you learn a lot of the stuff that you watch, learn a lot of the stuff that you see, when you're growing up. And a lot of the times we had certain kind of realities that were promoted to us. Just one being, for instance, was the Cosby Show, right? That was like one of the perfect black families back in the days where you could actually, get some kind of morals, values, and principles. So, I mean, when I watched these things, it was just like I noticed that not from, first off, it was television. I knew it was TV off the rip, but the most part was dealing with, the consequences, the realities, the things like that. That um a lot of the things that they were professing and putting together in this very situation when it came to relationships. And for me, like, the Huxtables was like definitely lit. And then I seen also was another it was another sitcom, I believe it was the Brady Bunch, when he had three boys and she had three girls and they got married. I don't know. That right
That's my family.
there. That sounds that sounds wild. What's up, brother DJ?
I'm good. What's happening? That's me. All grown up.
All grown up. Yeah, so I was just expounding on relationships and how a lot of the times the relationships that individuals are in are already kind of like premeditated, like not to succeed because of the toxic stuff that they got raised around, if that makes sense. Apparently it did.
No, no. It did. We just, I don't know who else is on the line, but
Nah,
what
we
happened
so
is people, they have their own, everybody has their background, the things that they grew up with that are the norms for them. But then what's happening is you're combining, and especially as you get older, you this is how you always lived, this is what you always done. And now you're so the other person, that's what they always did, that's what they always done. So it's like, is one right or one wrong? No, you got to come to a mutual understanding about how we're going to proceed and how we're going to make it better.
right, right, and exact. And quite often, I believe a lot of individuals, man, they find themselves um, living with their own regrets because of the things they say or the things they did or do. Because of those things. Sometimes you got people, you got men right now who are being beat up in relationships, like stabbed and harmed in toxic relationships. But you'll never know it because they profess to be something different. Yeah, I got a prison call coming. Yo, D, take quarterback real fast.
All right. What's good, people? What's good, people? How y'all doing? Who's on the line? Let me see. Hold on. Let's check it around and see. Anybody? Everybody? But in any event, what he's talking about is real reality that so many people, we grew up toxic but didn't know it. We never knew that the things that we were taught or the things that we were exposed to were not correct. They were not beneficial to us. They were not um set up to a place where we can succeed. But we're stuck on it because if mama did it, that must be right. Or if daddy did it, that must be right. But nah, it's not always the case. Sometimes you have to examine yourself and realize that, you know what, something don't feel right here. Papa was a Rolling Stone. He was doing that. So Papa was a Rolling Stone. That means I got to be a Rolling Stone. That means I got to keep on going, running around, having baby after baby, kid after kid, and not having any substantial um, responsibilities. But and it keeps going on and on and on. But at some point, we have to break that cycle and say, you know what? This is what it is, and this is how it's going to be. We have to stand strong. We have to stand tall, and we have to look to God because God, He established the relationship. He established marriage. He established that, and this is what we need to do. We got to come together with that focus and make a change. And only we can do it. Nobody can do it for us. There ain't nobody on the line. Let's see. It was just you and I, brother Kenny. But it's all good. I know you're doing your meeting right now. Another call coming in. But yeah, people, we got to realize that a lot of times we're our own worst enemies because we just repeat what has been done instead of trying to make a change and trying to make it right. Seeking God's face for direction and guidance and allowing Him to lead us and direct us in the path that He would have us to follow. So much of the time we just do, well, that's what I always did. That's how it was always been. But if it's always been wrong, if it's wrong, it's wrong. You know what I'm saying? You just expound upon the wrong. So let's try and get it right. That's why groups like this here, where brothers come together and lean on each other and speak to each other and seek each other's wisdom and guidance. This when we go forward and we can make a change. We can be the change that we want to see. But if we don't do that, if we don't step out and do that, shame on us. Don't
Right,
don't
right.
blame me.
Yeah, it's definitely a necessity, man, to be able to have a foundation to build from. And for us, I know, it's the word of God,
Mm-hmm.
and it's having a relationship through fervent prayer to keeps us in a system with a situation where we can have discernment when it comes to our significant others when they're feeling certain ways or when they're going through certain things. Sometimes you give them the space, or sometimes you got to be in their face,
Hmm.
but you have to know the difference.
Yep, definitely. And that's the word right there, discernment, to see what it is. And sometimes what happens is something goes on with them, maybe at work or with somebody else, and they tell it to you. And as a man, a lot of times we want to solve the problem, but sometimes they just want you to listen to the problem. You know what I'm saying? Instead of reaching out trying to solve and correct things, because you can make things worse by stepping in a situation where it was just like, I just wanted to get it off my chest. So with a way that you can go about doing that is, all right, I'm hearing you, and I feel your pain. What is it that you would have me to do? How do you want me to proceed? And once they tell you, then you can proceed from that point on, because a lot of things get out of control or get out of hand, and we're just stuck in the middle. Like they say, you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. So it can be rough out there in these streets, trying. You're like, I'm trying to help. I'm trying to step up. I'm trying to be your protector. I'm trying to be that. But they be like, yeah, but you cost me my job because you came out and you spazzed on this dude and he ran the HR, and so I got in trouble. So it's a thin line sometimes between, they say, between love and hate, but between being a protector or being overprotective. So we got to ask them, all right, baby, I hear you. How do you want me to handle this situation? And then we go from there. Yeah. It seems like everybody watching that Nick game, Kenny. I guess that's what it is. Knicks is playing the Sixers. Don't know. I guess that's what's up, brother. People, they on that thing. But it's been busy down here in Houston. You know, I mean, I sent a video on the WhatsApp on app about 'cause I went to a funeral. Pastor asked me to go and provide security for him at a funeral. A young brother who, street dude. He was about that life, and somebody, they took him out. So, and he was, he was murdered. Young brother, about 37 years old, I think. And all his boys and everything was all up in the funeral. They had all their stuff, and you could just tell, walking up, I could say, yeah, okay, I know it. I know what this is all about. But to see what it is, and then there was a brother who was a pastor who I've been in contact with. I got his information. He got ours. Try and make that connection. I sent the what's up thing about him. I as he was preaching. He wasn't even doing the preaching. He was just doing the prayer and about how we got to do better, as a people, because what we want is we want our kids to be safe. We want this, we want that. All this killing, like this, the thing. Enough of us killing us.
Right.
All the stuff. And this brother, he came from Louisiana over to Houston, and he said he found Christ in prison. That's where he found Christ, and he's about that life. So I got his information. It's all good, and another brother too. So to connect them, and I just been meeting people and be like, yo, giving them the website, giving them the different things, and like, yo, check this out, see what's going on. And there's so much work that needs to be done, not just there. And
Like
I
every
put,
a lot of different areas, but the problem is, a lot of people don't understand what it is to bring the kingdom here on earth.
hmm
A lot of people, they get caught up in the flesh, and literally, they're being guided by their lower desires when it comes to manifestation of a creation that God has already put in our hearts.
definitely.
Like, a lot of times, I sit and I listen to people. They now all of a sudden the cry is, "Oh, we need this and we need that." But we've had this. Fathers Alive in the Hood has been providing service in communities for over 16 years.
hmm
And for over 16 years, these things have been consistent. These groups here, we're in our sixth cohort because this started in 2020. We
hmm
started meeting on online like this in 2020.
Right.
So we 6 years later, we still here, and we still, attentive and being able to share with brothers and build. That's what's up. And then we got brothers like yourself who's out in Texas. We got other brothers that's in Miami. We got brothers that's in North Carolina. Got brothers that's in Jersey. Like different areas, like and in this covering. So, just to have that kind of range of impact, that right there in itself, is a beautiful thing. And I think as long as we continue to grow with one another, that a lot of things could be obtainable, just by doing the work. Because it doesn't come just by, people like to talk about certain things, and when it comes to the community and stuff. And just to get back on track to, even in relationships, we tend to talk about what we would like or how we would want each other to be towards one another. But I think if we start treating one another, not only like we want to be treated, but also in the same premises of being servants to
hmm
one another, you know, that there would be something I know I have to work on. I have to work on serving my wife a lot better. So, as I'm talking, I'm listening.
You're not alone. Not alone. So many times we forget that they are the fairer sex, and sometimes we take things for granted, or we take things like, oh, she understands, or she know what I mean, or she know this, or she know that. Maybe she doesn't, or even if she does know, maybe she just needs to hear,
Hmm.
from you that how important, how special how impactful she is in your life. Sometimes you just gotta break it down, say it all over again. You all I need to get by. Method Man said, Valentine's cards and birthday wishes, nah. But sometimes that's what they need. You
Hmm.
know, sometimes they need that. I'm good. I don't need none of that nonsense. Don't listen. It's whatever. But they sometimes they need that, just a little refreshing thing. Sometimes just little flowers, a little something, just something to make them feel that they matter to you. You
Appreciate
know,
it.
like you pray with them, which is something that's positive too. You should read the word with them, study with them, and do these things, and be like, baby, I'm trying to get us to a place that God wants us to be. And that's the thing. He wants us to be united, and he wants us to put together a united front. And so when we stand tall, we stand, it's not just 10 toes down, it's 20 toes down because we standing together and we got
Hmm.
this. So this is something that's very important that has to be done. But yeah, I'm just seeing things that's going on, and it's just crazy. But the brother, he was praying, he was praying. It's like, yo, listen, we gotta do this, do that. And some people, like enough of us killing us. Some of the brothers in the place ain't want to hear that, so they walked out of the church. Church was packed out. I mean,
Yeah.
a lot of them they just walked out. And it's like, what, really? Are you serious? It's like, nah. I'll get back. I'm like, okay, and then what? You know what I'm saying? So you get that, and then what? Then they gonna come back, and then you gonna, you know what I'm saying? And then when you gonna stop? When somebody's kid or something like that gets killed? That's when it's gonna end, or that's gonna make it even worse. And that's one thing about the brother. They was talking, and God said, you know, he was definitely about that life. He was a street dude, whatever, doing all this stuff, but one thing, you see a lot of guys, they talk about all their jewelry and their cars. He would show pictures of the clothes that he bought for his kids. So he was definitely a father to his kids. He had multiple kids, multiple baby mamas, all the stuff like that, doing all of that stuff. But he took care of all his kids. So that was something to be commended about, with them. And hopefully that stands, that this is so important, man. People don't realize how important it is to be that presence in the kids' lives. So I say all the time. It's not a day go by, and I'm not like, oh, father's alive in the hood. Check us out to see black, white, everything. We talking about it, and I found there's a couple of prison ministries that I'm checking out. One is called Malachi's Prison Ministry, which is just a bunch of white people, but they going up to the jails too, talking to the brothers. I saw what Chris and Akil did, and I was like, whoa, that was excellent. Wonderful. Brothers, they dropping their flags like, nah, listen, man, we trying to get out of here. We trying to get on with our lives. So it's impactful, and it reaches. And sometimes all it does is reach one. But if you reach that one, you say for every one, they're rejoicing in heaven. So you just keep it going and see the change.
Yeah. Definitely got some good brothers like that to depend on.
Hmm.
So I ain't got to be stressing myself out worrying about if anything is wrong. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Again, been through, and I tell a story about faith. I say, I worked in jail, did this, did that, did whatever. But my always allowed the brothers, the inmates to maintain their humanity. I said, and I'm gonna treat you like a gentleman as long as you act like one. I said, but if you take it that way, we got that covered too. But I'm gonna allow you to maintain your humanity unless you put it down on the ground. If you put your humanity down, then all bets are off. But I'm gonna talk to you like a person. And I realize that sometimes you feel as if nobody cares, nobody want to listen to you, but always give them an ear, but stand there and talk to them and see what's what. And a lot of times, because you don't know what they're going through. You know what I'm
At all.
saying? He
They
got.
the brothers just got some breakthrough today. They had one gentleman who was there. Every time they would come in, he started banging on the table, screaming, "They not like us.
Uh
They not like us." He said today, when they came in, the same gentleman asked them, can he sign in? He want to
huh.
participate
Uh huh.
because of the consistency.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And that's a big thing that people don't realize, because it's easy to talk about it for 5 minutes or for a day, but then you disappear and we don't see you no more. Because people, they come and then they not here no more. But that's what they want. They want consistency. Oh, you talking about all this stuff. It sounds good, but what are you doing? You talking about it, or are you being about it? I want to see you in action. Let me see your and you coming up, and you're not asking me for nothing, but you being there for me, and then that's
Yeah,
why a lot of the churches, a lot of the other stuff like that, why they losing these people, because they forget their purpose. They forget their purpose. A
yeah,
fixer of men. Not you just want the the fish scales clean, filleted, and already in the batter. You just want to lay some oil on them. Nah, brother, you got some work to do. You
yeah,
got to clean them up, and you got to get the dirtiest ones sometimes, And that's how it is. You know, you got to go out there. You got to go into the where the water is deep and talk to these brothers and let them know. Come on, man. There's so much more that you have to offer to the world. You know, it's more than just your hood. It's your neighbor. You don't know your neighbor no more. Why we don't know our neighbors? You
Yeah,
know, why we don't know that?
because you got a lot of foreigners buying the hood.
Mm-hmm.
That's why it's no longer a
Right.
neighborhood. It's just
Right.
you got a lot of people who don't look like us,
Right.
ain't been here for over 10 years, but yet
Mm-hmm.
they're here buying houses and homes.
Right.
And then when they buy them, then they become your landlord. That's the
Right.
crazy part about it.
That's part of the thing where we got to get our people to understand the power that exists through home ownership. A lot of times we don't think about that because it wasn't brought to our purview. It wasn't brought to our attention. It was like, I just need a place so I can lay my head. Like, no, when you have this, and then it's about getting insurance. I thought Brother Howell was gonna do something with presenting about getting insurance. Didn't you say you were gonna take that insurance class?
Oh,
Or
yeah,
whatever
I'm
to
still
do,
doing it.
so this way
Yeah.
that because it's generational wealth a lot of times it come from that instead of having a GoFundMe when somebody passed away. Here's an insurance policy. Bam. Here's $100,000. You could take this. You can handle their remains, and then you can still have something for the family, which you can invest in maybe a business or a down payment on a house or do something like that. Get a property. It don't have to be the biggest property on the block, but sometimes you get that, and the way they do it, they get it, and they all move in together. You know what I'm saying? So you'll have five families in one house, and then before you know it, they own the whole block. That their whole family. That's what they do. But we get to the point to whereas we're like, no, this is mine. I got mine, and I want to outball you. I'm the bigger baller than you, as opposed to no, this is generational wealth. We want to pass it down from generation to generation. And with the insurance, the stuff is tax free. So when you get that money, it's tax free. So you don't pay taxes on that, and they can move forward to the next level. Brother Chris, what's good? So they can come on and get stuff tax free. So that's the type
Peace
of
and
thing
blessings.
with financial wealth, peace and blessings.
I
And good
mean,
job y'all did, man. I saw that video. It was very, very, very good, very impactful how y'all did that with the brothers having them drop their flags. I think I
Oh,
may
yeah,
have
thank
posted
you.
it. It was a Muslim brother. He was saying about how that because they have what is it, Eid that's coming up, which is a Muslim festival, and that other brothers are like they're not going because this one, this blood can't get on with that blood or this and that or whatever because they ain't want to have those tensions or fights. They black they what is they call shoot on sight or whatever, get on sight or whatever. That they didn't want to do that. So the brother was like, "Come on, what are y'all doing? Either y'all in this or y'all not in this. If Allah, if that's who y'all um are giving your allegiance to, why are you laying your hands on another Muslim? Why are you doing this? You got to stop that. Y'all got to wise up." And he said, he did time before too, and he realizes that it happens. But until we stop killing each other, until we stop, degrading each other and making each other feel like we're nothing, how can we expect somebody else to make us feel like we're something, or somebody else to respect us if we don't respect ourselves? Knowledge is power. Knowledge is power.
I seen that on Instagram as well
Hmm.
when he put it up. Yeah,
Right.
um, and he said that he gonna go inside to talk to them about the situation, which is true and important. So we see a lot of those things, and I'm pretty sure you've seen a whole lot more than I have. Um, but what's current about it is still happening, and
Yep.
they got to see past the evil or whatever's distracting them, and
Hmm.
love one another.
Yep.
Yeah,
But
but
they got to love themselves first. But that's a big thing because they feel as if they never been nothing. Their people never been nothing. We're not realizing that we are the
yeah,
originators. We are the creators of everything. They copy. That's why they're trying to whitewash, what's going on, because they it's like, man, they digging deeper into the history. They're finding out about Timbuktu. They're finding out about, Kemet. They're finding out about all this stuff. We gotta erase this stuff, because once they know that they are the originators and we're the copies, we're the copycats. We're the ones that have just stolen their history and made it our own. Then that changes the whole narrative. So that's what they're trying to do so hard, so strong, man. That's crazy.
Well, one thing for sure, our narrative tonight, we going a little off course.
Uh-huh.
However, everything goes and plays right back to the home. It
Mm-hmm.
plays right back to the upbringing of these young men. And some of them, came into grew up in homes where there was no religion.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them, grew up in a time where black people were in an epidemic. So we have to understand a lot of these relationships and things that we are currently seeing. They are structured and designed for failure.
Yep.
Unfortunately, but when you can identify it and realize what it is, I believe it's um more relevant in a person's reality, so to say, look, this is what's going on right now. And this is how I have to do something about it to change it, because I am no longer um not only am I no longer comfortable, but no longer complacent about what's going on. So it's just like going through that process and having an understanding about being able to call out those things that can be used as weapons against you. You have to become the solution to what's going on. Like this being in a relationship, a lot of the times, we may not get along with our significant others, but that don't mean that they not who they are.
Mm-hmm.
And and it says somewhere where, you know, do not let the sun go down on your wrath.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of times it's hard for people to even identify that, because they be so mad.
Hmm.
So, just dealing with those particular situations and being able to know that, as men, we have to humble ourselves. As men, we have to be aware of the tools that the enemy uses. I'm sure if Adam was aware back when,
Hmm.
we may have had a different result.
Yeah. Yep. So true.
So dealing with our significant other, sometimes, we could be used and they could be used as well. You could have had a whole good day, come in the house, and she gave you some kind of attitude, or she shut the snack box down and tell you can't get no snacks, and you looking at her like, hold up, but I was thinking about these snacks all day.
Huh.
When you ain't trying to give me no snacks, it'd be crazy like that.
Yeah.
So, I think once we start communicating better, or identifying some of the ways that you would rather be communicated to, and it's vice versa, because I think everybody has a different preference when it comes to how they want to be addressed by their loved one.
That's true. That's what Gary Chapman wrote the book about the five love languages, because you're trying to do something that you think is good, but that ain't her love language. So you speak in French and she only understands Spanish, and you wondering what's the problem. They say because you speak in the wrong love language. So you got to see. Sometimes they want just to rub my shoulders, or to some want gifts or flowers or whatever, or words of affirmation. Thank you, honey. Oh, don't you look good today? What you got to figure out what their love language is, and then try to communicate to them in that manner of fact. and vice versa too, because it's not all our fault. Sometimes
Right.
they say love on a two-way street. You know what I'm saying? So it goes
Right.
both ways.
So I
So
think
I believe, I was gonna say, I believe we got to lead, of course, um, for our relationships. Women are craving leadership, positive
Hmm.
leadership, but we also need women to make sure that they're able to communicate and we hear each other out.
Hmm.
It shouldn't be a one way street
Yep.
where just one person is talking and navigating, because that don't make the relationship go as it should. And be open to certain ways of being. And as you said, showing women like to see different senses of endearment. They love romance. Many of them, not all, but many love romance. And some know how to respond to it well, and others don't. And this day and age, a lot of women critique men and go over things that men also want to feel loved and shown affection and different things. And it's not like, okay, well, you have to give me flowers, but show gratitude. And gratitude shouldn't be forced, but it's within action. And I personally believe in showing your woman over and over how much you love her and care about her. I feel like it keeps the relationship spark. But then you got to show yourself you love yourself and get to that point, and always be willing to have conversations about, well, how do we make this go further. And you got to seek different ways of showing a good time. I feel like in a relationship, a lot of times, brother Carter mentioned that when going to bed, having arguments and certain things, that takes communication. Sometimes you just got to give a look, and it's like, yo, listen, we're not doing this. So you give a look, you give a laugh. Not saying all problems go away when you do stuff like that. Like, you shouldn't ignore something that's major, but you don't have to make everything a big deal. Where if a simple smile can get you out to talk, then give the smile. If a hug, a shoulder rub, a foot rub, or anything, if that can make it better, then just make it better. Make it through the next day, and then the next day communicate when everything is better on how to keep making it better. I believe we deserve to be happy and joyful on both sides, inner and outer. In our relationship, if you want a good relationship, everybody has to do the work, not just
True,
one person. When it's one sided, it won't work. Got
true
to keep
indeed.
people.
True indeed. It's like with one of the things that women they're not good at compartmentalizing things. Like you have a dresser drawer, you put this in that drawer, that in that drawer. They just throw it all in the junk drawer. So it's like with everything. But they, all right, baby, I understand that, but let's shelf that right now and let's go on with life because life is going to keep on moving despite what's going on right there. And we disagree on one thing, but there's nine other things that we agree upon. So why are we going to focus on that one thing we don't agree upon right now? Let's come back to that. Let cooler heads prevail, and we can pick this up at a later date, as opposed to hammering it into the ground. But all right, no, this is in that drawer, so we're gonna leave that alone right now, and we'll move on to the next thing. I'm not minimizing it, and I understand that that is of a major concern to you, but don't let that one thing spoil our whole day or spoil a whole week that we've been building up going to this weekend, and now it's here, and because of this one thing, you want to be like, really, like, give me a break, but you think that you don't say it, but
I think those kind of communications are healthy, and when somebody can be able to really speak with their significant other without aggression, without raising the voice and making them feel uncomfortable and things of that nature. I think that those things are quite challenging if that's something that the other one is used to. Because some people can be used to that kind of like, they like if it ain't toxic, they don't want it.
then that's where your
Get it all the
piece.
time. Got to curve them.
That's where your piece comes in mind. You be like, listen, I'm not here for the toxicity. You know what I'm saying? I'm here. I'm trying to love you, and that toxic stuff. Nah, nah, nah. Say that for the Real Housewives of Atlanta. So we ain't getting no money or nothing like that from that. So save all that stuff. We not about. I'm not about that. If that's what you about, you want somebody toxic that nah, But that's the type of thing where you got to put forward like this is where we going. I can't be held liable for the sins of somebody else. I'm not Jesus. You know what I'm saying? I'm not the Christ. So I can't be crucified for somebody else's sins. Oh well, this is what he did, or this is what they did, or whatever back in the day. Okay, but that's not me. That's not the person I am. Judge me based on who I am and how I treat you and how I treat your family, how we get along and how we move forward. But if you every little thing that happens, you're taking extreme measures or extreme attitude with that's a problem that you have to face that I can't deal with.
So you talking about being an adult, and I'm not undermining women or anything in relationships, but for some people, what I do see with the toxicness is that if you get to a stage in life, male or female, and you understand what healthy love is, right, and you set boundaries and a value system, a moral code, and you don't let people pass that. A lot of time, this day and age, I see that women, for me, because I'm not hollering at men, so I've seen them look at it a certain way, as if it's either control or not abuse, but when you state that you don't tolerate certain things and you point out what may be toxic in conversation, not with aggression, not with yo, you do this, like yo, I really think you should work on this and that because the arguing nature is not cool, or certain ways that you talk. If every second, every other word is the N word towards a man that you communicating with, or the attitude business, like arguing for little stuff, or saying slick comments, like I'm not on that type of time. You got to respect that. A lot of times they don't want to respect that. They think that you either trying to change them or do something. Well, you got to go that way. I'm a grown man. I'm not trying to deal with no roughneck. It's not happening.
Mm-hmm.
These ain't the values I want for myself. This ain't what I want around my child. And I'm not standing for it. The place I be, the things that I do, just me. Period. I'm not going for it. And women have their things too. Men have, other men have their things, and I just know it's a lot of toxic things going out. It's really being promoted to not care about the other sex as much. Do stuff for yourself. Like it's too much self, and not enough unity. And I believe that we need more unity, more communication. We need each other on both sides. Both people should have value, bring value, provide for themselves and others in many ways. And I believe that love is out there. I believe you can have a very good relationship if you start with one, your relationship with God, two, your relationship with yourself, and then knowing what you want out of a partner and what you could bring. I truly believe the idea of marriage has been sold so much to the wrong people. I don't believe everybody should be married, for one, and I don't believe that everybody should be in long-term relationships if they don't have the long-term commit, like in their mind. If they know they're not going to give the long term to a person, then don't force another person to believe that that's what you're going to bring. Just tell them the truth. Just tell the truth. More people can handle the truth than others. I feel like a lot of people go crazy because they're being sold a false narrative. And then when they come with that, they'll go into the next relationship or talking stage with another person thinking that they're like the last person.
That's true. Put your cards on the table and be like, either you with it or you not. If you're not with it, then you're not the one for me. I'm not the one for you. So let's move on. But like you say, don't lie. Don't tell them this because you told me this, you told me that, you promised me, all of this, and then look what you did. Because what that does, that just doesn't just make it bad for you, it makes it bad for the next person coming along too. Because now she has a level of I can't trust them because all they want is the snacks. You said,
The snacks, man, the snacks.
yeah. So it's just the type of thing. So do yourself a favor, do her a favor, because again, a lot of times she don't deserve to be hurt. So it's like lay your cards on the table. Like this is what it is. This is what I'm about. If you with it, that's good. If you're not, then that's good also. You know, but at least we know where we stand. We ain't got to spend 6 months or whatever making promises. They say promises you can't keep. You know, don't do that. That's not cool.
Yeah, a lot of people have to do what we call self-development for them to get through certain stages within themselves to be able to be not only accountable but to show up. Some people not showing up.
Hmm.
It's their representative still there.
Yep.
So I hear what brother Chris is saying, and I'm in total agreement. Like it's like wasted time. Nobody want to waste time. So when you know that, you put everything on the table and you say what it is. And if that person they not jacking it, then guess what? You it's over. Everything that you thought it was, it ain't.
I believe it's also you can be at a point where you really don't know, where you want to feel somebody vibe and you don't know where you want to fully go, but stay in the talking stage, like learn each other, be around each other, learn the traits, like go out, do things, stay on the phone, communicate. You don't got to jump into the snacks all the time. It's like really feel a person out. For real, sometimes snacks is needed right away. Sometimes you got to leave the snacks on the shelf and see if it's worth it because you soul tired.
Yeah,
The real thing.
that's a big thing right there. I think we need to park right there just for a second, man, so people can understand that whole conversation in itself. You just said that you soul tying. Could you be a little bit? Could you elaborate a little bit more on that? I mean, I know what it is, but since you used it, I would rather you just expound on it for a second because there's somebody listening somewhere, and I think they would definitely want to know, if not know, understand, um, what you mean by that.
When two people come together, and they decide to share their snacks together, um, there's a connection that's formed, right? Especially if they're doing it without certain level of protection and stuff like that, where the two bodies meet, the two minds meet, heart to heart, chest to chest, and whether it's a fast situation or slow, you're putting a piece of you inside of somebody else, and that person is receiving it in their womb, and it's like souls are connecting, right? And if especially when the passion is heightened and energies are connecting, one part of you is going into the other part of the other person, and it lasts longer than we think. And especially women per se, when a man is inside of you and maybe leaves some juices inside the snack, it lingers. And as it lingers, it becomes a part of you and your DNA for a certain amount of time. And then if you have a praying person, if you have a person that's manifesting certain things or doing certain things, you could take the good with them or you could take the bad or you could take unbalance. And sometimes people don't know what's really going on with them. They feel a certain way, they want to be a certain way. And it's like, yo, look who you connected with. But for the people that's connected with a lot of people, one person's attached to another, that's attached to another, that's attached to the salty person, that's attached to this person. You wonder why your luck streak goes a certain way. Because who you been with. That's my piece.
So it sounds like to me, man, that when people talk about STDs, sexual transmitted diseases, that don't sound like it got nothing on spiritual transmitted diseases.
Hmm. Amen.
So wow. So yeah, so even if you had a condom on, that means you still liable to get something that you can't get back. They
That's
figured
true.
out a way. They figured out a way.
Cause with everybody that you've been with, it transfers over. So the spirits and the the things that a partner from years ago, has left with you. It was like sometimes even your thoughts and your mind, the things they keep popping up in your head, and you see this stuff, and it's a transfer of spirits, a transfer of emotions, a transfer of feelings, and people they change, and it's like you wonder why all of a sudden you act in this way, because the spirit of somebody else is now inside of you, saying the two become one flesh. That's supposed to be reserved for when you get married, but a lot of times it's not like that. But it can happen, so you have to be very careful who you choose to lay down with and who you choose to have snacks with.
Right, that part. So yeah, man. I mean, I think tonight, man, I was expecting a little bit more brothers on because I know there was some brothers that were experiencing some stuff that really needed to really talk about this right here. And just knowing that alone, it just puts us in it put me in a position of being accountable. So when I think about am I my brother's keeper, I believe yes I am. And when I know that, it's always have to be something that's going to not just better one, but it can better the whole. Because as I was speaking tonight, I was also thinking about, the solution aspect of, you know what I mean, just being that the solution. Knowing that, if I don't do something that's going to be, what's the word, productive within that relationship, that certain things just ain't gonna work. So I gotta be that productive person. That's how I feel, man. There's just so much going on right now.
And it's intentional. You know what I'm saying? You got to make a concerted effort to sometimes it's hard work. You know, sometimes you just want to be easy and just I'm just easy, just lay back, this and that. But sometimes you got to put in the work. Marriage and I say my wife get mad. I go, oh no, marriage is work. You got to put it in because different people they have different um emotions or different feelings or different things or whatever like that. And it's like when the two become one, you're gonna have that tug of war back and forth to see where it's at, but you got to be able to meet in the middle sometimes. It's not always, oh, it's my way or the highway. No, let's talk about this. Let's figure out what it is that we need to do where we can both be happy, because it should be a mutual understanding. Somebody has said, oh yeah, happy wife, happy life. I said, no, happy spouse, happy house. So
That
just
part.
talk about the other part. So for you to be happy, I'm supposed to be miserable. Nah, that's not cool. We gotta work it out.
I think that's where it comes from right there. When you start looking or you start realizing the relationship isn't a one-sided thing, then things will be balanced. And in that situation, if it being balanced, the communication, it gets not only better, but it becomes productive communication and not destructive communication.
Yep.
Yeah, I was once in a and I speak on situations whatever from the past, and the situation was good at many times, but then at different times it was um unhappy because trying to make the other person happy, and the other person was just not happy with themselves, and trying to express that to a person and them not understanding it, because the want for this, the need for that, the da 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 da, is like you can do everything for a person, but if they don't have it within themselves, it's just gonna fall on deaf ears. And men, we tend to suffer in silence. Um, so if for people listening, if anybody catches themselves in a situation where it feels one sided, then you gotta choose yourself. You gotta choose your happiness. You gotta speak out on it, and you gotta make a stand to make sure it's fair. And if you can't find fair there, I'm not gonna tell anybody to leave their situation, but I'm gonna tell you that figure out how you're gonna choose yourself. Figure out what's gonna work best for you, because both people in a relationship should be happy, should be joyful, should be appreciative, show gratitude, show love, show show growth. You have to grow together. One person in a relationship can't be working on something all the time, and the other person is dormant. It just won't work. At some point, you're gonna outgrow each other, and you in order to have a good relationship, it has to be fair on both sides, and different times you don't know what fair is. So, um, utilize other relationships that's out there to kind of to see where the spark is, where the happiness is. Reach out to your bishop, your pastor, reach out to friends and family, and hey, how does my relationship look to you? And they don't have to get into the in betweens, but sometimes you can't see what you in, so the people from the outside be like, "Yo, every time y'all come around, y'all make us happy." Because you got situations where you got couples that come around. The moment they come around, they mess everything up for everybody. You understand? So you gotta know where you stand to make it better. Sometimes you in it so long that y'all just coexisting, paying bills together, going places, say, yeah, my husband, oh, my wife, and y'all don't communicate in the house properly. Whether you have different schedules, children involved, like sometimes it gets like that. People go through seasons. But you can make that season better. It's all about being mindful of what you want and what the other person needs. And they got to work on your needs, and y'all work together. It's both. But I don't believe a person should force themselves to be in a relationship if it's not a happy situation or a respectful situation that's gonna be beneficial for them and the overall family. And sometimes you're gonna have down periods. That's just human nature. Sometimes it ain't booming like it should be, and that's okay. But one person got to get it and pull the other person up, or the other person got to get it at that time. Y'all got to keep each other up, or why y'all even in a relationship? I don't know. So I know for myself, when I'm in a relationship, I bring a lot of love, I bring a lot of value. I listen to the person, I communicate well. Um, I'm not perfect, but I aim to be the best that I can, because if I'm gonna be in a situation with somebody, I'm gonna treat them like my equal or better. And I expect them to pull me up. Before I would not expect the all, because I'm like, yo, I came up doing so much on my own that I didn't require much. And then, when I did require much, it was too much for somebody else. So I'm not in there. Wow. I'm not taking over. Just voicing my opinion on love. But I love love. I love romance. I'm telling you, I love love. I love making somebody feel happy every day, bro, to the best of my ability. I rub feet. I take out weaves. I scrub scalps. I cook. I clean. I deliver. I love eating snacks and beating snacks. I'm a fun time. I like being happy. I don't want to be in no sad situation. Not here. Let's have fun. Let's make love. Let's show the world what we can do. That's it. Let's be goals, and let's encourage each other and take over the world.
True, true indeed. Well said. Well said. Make sure that it's a priority. That's the thing. It's not an afterthought, but it's a priority. Let me put in the work. And you put in the work, and we work together, and we go forward. And it's sometimes not just the past, and sometimes you need a counselor or therapist or something like that. Somebody that doesn't
Yeah,
have
exactly. Yep. Yep.
any tie to the situation. You know what I mean? Because sometimes, this one I know you, or I know that one, or so just to talk and talk things out, and it'd be like, okay, I understand what's going on. A Christian counselor and can make it so much better, and that's what it's all about. Go back to, it's about love. That's what it is. Above these, what's the most important? Just say love. And that's what it is. It's not. I mean, happy, because happy comes and happy goes. Happy is based on what's happening. But what the joy should be something that's everlasting. Whereas, you know what, I'm mad now, but I still got joy. But if I can't be happy and mad at the same time, but I can have joy and be mad. And then we work through this, because we realize that it's not just about my happiness, it's about our happiness, about us coming together. It's not about winning the argument. It's about saving a relationship. It's about doing these things that will help, that will be beneficial to us in the long run. Because a lot of times, relationships, when you about ready to throw in the towel, once you get over that hump, it's smooth sailing. But sometimes you can't see what you can't see. But that's where's the faith at? You know, it's not about what you see. It's about what you believe. And I believe that God put us together, and I believe that we can make a way through this. And it's like to come together and pray together and to realize that a three-strand cord is not easily broken. So a lot of times it's because you are talking about you, she's talking about her. Okay, but where's God in this? So let's get back and let's read this word and let's study this word and let's wash each other with this word. I think that's Thessalonians when it talks about that. Wash each other with the word and study that. And then you begin to put your other um things to rest and realize that, you know what, it's bigger than this, and realize that it's an attack, and it is an attack a lot of times with, in relationships, because they don't want to see people, showing that love works, love is good, love is should be everlasting. But that's how it goes. So, oh, well, she said this, I'm out, or he said that, I'm out. Well, let's see past that. Let's keep on pushing. Let's keep on pressing.
Yeah. Also, is a benefit if you have a praying woman that actually has a relationship with God, and make sure y'all believing in the same God. That means
Hmm.
a lot.
Yep.
Because you don't want to be in a situation where you where a person is in tune with God and religion and going to the Lord for certain things, and then the other person say God, 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 but don't pray, don't submit, don't connect, don't do research, don't look into why the balance is needed. Why, you understand, like taking the problems to the Lord before you take the problems to other people or create drama and stuff like that. Like you ask the Lord through your relationship to oversee whatever issues that you might have. And if things are going too good, because sometimes women be like, "Yo, this is too good. It got to be something," and they start searching for problems. So
Hmm.
you got to make sure that when it's so good, it's because you pray for this, you deserve this, you earn this.
Uh-huh.
Um, I was communicating, and I know this is a little shift, but I was communicating with one of the brothers incarcerated today, and he was kind of explaining the situation that he was in this. He was with a female, and they got into a toxic situation. It was the first time that they got into it like that, but she wilded out, emasculated him like through verbiage and stuff like that, threatened to do certain things, and she like swung at him, and he responded and hit her back like one slap.
So,
Um, she got him locked up,
mm,
and he said it was a buildup of them being together for 5 years. Never put his hands on her, but it's times where she hit him, but he didn't look at it like an issue, because that's what he felt. That's what females do sometimes when they're angry, whatever. And he feel very remorseful about what he did. He said, the first month he was real bitter. Second month he was like, what happened? He was still missing her, and then he thought about. He said he spoke to his mom, and his mom told him to pray on it. And he said, why, basically, why would he pray on her? Look what she got me, whatever. So he said by like the third month, he started submitting to God a certain way and taking accountability for what he did. And he was very apologetic, but he said through conversation, and this was conversations with his mother. He said he started praying for her so she could find somebody else, so they won't have to go through no stuff like that again. And he said just recently his mom told him that the girl did find somebody else, and she looked like she's happy right now. And hopefully it could go where it got to go. But their love was based off of, he said it was a toxic situation, and they was trauma bonding, and they've been
hmm
trauma bonding for so much. And when they would talk about how they could, like when things would go too far with boundary lines and stuff like that, they kept pushing each other to the point where it was like disrespect. And just that day, he just, she hit him, and he responded, and then it blew out of proportion to where it's like, okay, well, now you're going to jail. And he's sitting there thinking about it now, still going through it. He's been there for about 10 months.
that's crazy.
Yeah. So now he's in a situation where he doing rehabilitation and stuff like that. He programming heavy into the Lord, but solid on his mistakes and very apologetic for it. But I told him, like, that apology don't have to go to the person directly like that. You got to prove with your actions of what you did, so you don't got to go through that anymore, and just work on your self discipline and so you're not capable of getting to a situation and doing that again. It's mindful that you going through it now, but you're still incarcerated, so you probably feel a certain way, but you're gonna have to show and prove to yourself and whoever that you get with what may trigger you and know how to respond, because that's not the move. And you could feel like somebody pushing you to do something, but it's up to you to fight back as much as possible to not do it. Especially, even this day and age where sometimes women may put their hands on you out of anger, and I'm not saying it's right at all, but sometimes you just gotta bite it and be like, damn, you know what I mean? Like, not respond with the same hands. You just gotta fall back and take it. And then look at the situation like, do you still want to be there? Because I don't feel like anybody should receive abuse on either side. So but that was some of the things that happened today within one of the conversations on the island. But yeah, man, I believe in love. I believe people deserve love. I'm gonna find me some snacks to eat this summer. I know that. I know I'm looking for snacks this summer.
Why wouldn't you?
I'm, I'm single and ready to eat some snacks and beat some snacks, but they got to be the right ones because I'm not so
Yeah,
tired. So tired, no demons.
yeah, it'd be that type of situation. Word, but I appreciate everybody that tapped on here tonight, man. And if you're showing up via YouTube, shout out to you. Please subscribe, because I'm sure that there were some jewels that were intentionally dropped in here tonight in this room. And a lot of the times, man, you just need to hear it again. You need somebody else to reiterate it, just so that you could be able to be like, you know what? I know I wasn't bugging, and that's what we do. You know what I mean? We just want to give you some inspiration and conversation that's gonna just help you be able to concentrate on the right things and not the wrong things. So, every Monday, 9:30 p.m. sharp, we are here, right
Eastern
here.
time.
Eastern time, yeah, because we got some brothers in the West too that like tapping in. So at the end of the day, man, you know the vibes. Show love, get love, and we here. Brother Dwayne, you want to take us out in prayer?
Surely. Heavenly, most gracious Father, we thank you, Lord. Thank you for life, health, and strength. We thank you for yet another day that we were able to survive, that we woke up this morning in our right minds, Lord. We thank you. We thank you for this conversation tonight about relationships and about how we need to pause, ponder, and pray before we act. Certain things, they take us into a direction that we don't need to be in, but we need to look to you because you're the director, you're the author and finisher of our faith, God. We ask you to continue to keep us, keep all of the brothers aligned or assigned with faith, keep them lifted up, keep their heads held high, and keep their eyes on you, God. We thank you for all that you do and all that you can continue to do. I ask that you just continue to guide us and direct us, and that we be so mindful of what it takes to be in your presence, in your glory. And these I ask in Jesus' name, Yahshua HaMashiach, the one, the only, our God Almighty. I say amen. Until we meet again, my brothers. Peace.
Amen, amen, amen. Yes, brothers. Thank you.
Yeah,
Brother Morris, make
definitely.
sure you get them flowers, man. All
Yeah, I definitely got them.
right,
I got
copy
them.
that.
I got them, and I
All right.
also got some wisdom from this meeting. I was in it through the whole time, and I
That's what's
received it.
up, bro. Thank you,
That's,
King.
that's what
Appreciate
it's
you.
all about. We all try, each one teach one. All
You
right,
too,
y'all.
brother.
Hey,
You
hey,
too,
hey,
brother
hey,
Carter
hey,
and Dwayne.
All
Yeah,
right.
man
brother
there to
Brother
get
Morris
your girl
just
some
learned.
flowers.
He just learned about snacks tonight. Chill.
My Cinnabon is at home.
All
All right. All
Uh,
right, y'all. Peace.
right, y'all. Peace.